My name is Nadia. The story I will share happened within our own family. At the time, I was a matriculation student. We had always lived in rented houses, not being financially strong. We never had the opportunity to buy our own home. Because of this, moving from one rented place to another involved a lot of hassle, sorrow, and discomfort. The main purpose of my story is to shed light on an aspect of life that many of us ignore. People often think that if there's black magic, it's done by a relative or an enemy. But today, I will share an experience that many of you might relate to your own lives, while others may be hearing about such a thing for the first time. We were forced to leave a previous house. The reason isn't relevant to this story, so I won't mention it. The search for a new place was on. One day Abu came home with good news. He had found a house, without much hope, but out of necessity, we went to see it. It was very old and dilapidated. The plaster was peeling off the walls. There were damp patches everywhere, that kind of house. But when you don't have money, you have to sacrifice your preferences. The rent was low, and the location was okay, so we mentally calculated that we could manage. However, the moment we stepped inside on the first day, a strange smell hit us. It's hard to describe, like something stale, mixed with the sharpness of burnt smoke. The courtyard, the double veranda, even the corners of the kitchen had chicken bones scattered about. It seemed as if the local dogs and cats hunted and came here to eat. We all understood that no matter what, we couldn't live there without a thorough cleaning. The landlord said the previous tenants had left a year ago, and the house had been completely vacant since then. Strapped for cash, we took it after some bargaining. Then began the battle of cleaning. We hired a helper, but we all rolled up our sleeves and joined in. The filth, dust, the stench of long-term decay, cockroaches, algae. The condition was so bad that it took 3 to 4 days just to clean. After cleaning, moving our furniture in took another 3 to 4 days. You can imagine how physically and mentally exhausted we were. During this time, I had my board exams. One day an exam, the next day organizing the house. Another exam the day after. Within 7 or 8 days, we were all in a terrible state. Finally, by the grace of Allah, we moved in, but we soon realized that none of us felt any connection to this house. It was as if the house itself pushed people away. My brother started spending more time outside. He would say, "I don't know, I feel strange when it's time to go home. I don't feel like coming back." Abu would deliberately return late from the office. Omar would find excuses to visit the neighbors. Being students, I and my younger sister were the ones who stayed home the most. Even I didn't like being in the house, but I had nowhere else to go. The exam pressure also meant I couldn't just wander outside. At night, when I went to the bathroom, what I felt is hard to put into words. I knew I was alone, yet I felt like someone was standing behind me. When the sound of the water tap stopped, the silence felt heavy with a presence. I felt like someone was watching me with fixed eyes. I just wanted to finish my bath quickly and run out without catching my breath. And it wasn't just Miyama. My brother, and even my little sister, complained of similar discomforts. We wondered, was this something related to jinn? Or was it just the usual unease of moving to a new place? Sometimes, when you change houses, the unfamiliar smells, various sounds, and new walls can make you feel uncomfortable. We tried to explain everything away with that logic. Meanwhile, I tried to ask the neighbors, but no one wanted to speak up. We were tenants. The landlord lived right next door and was known to be short-tempered. No one wanted trouble with him. Everyone just said, "It looks fine. You'll understand once you live there." We were forced to stay in that house quietly. The rent was below market rate, so we saw no way to leave or complain. Our family is small. My younger sister was 5 years old then, and my brother is 2 or 3 years older than me. It was me, my brother, Uma, Abu, and my little sister. The house was big, with almost 6 rooms, so we used 3, and the others remained empty. One Friday, my brother was getting ready to go pray. I was washing my hair in the bathroom, and my little sister was playing in her room. Suddenly, there was a sharp scream from outside, followed by my sister's crying. I quickly finished and rushed out. I found my brother agitated, his mouth agape, repeating the same thing. My little sister was curled up in fear, and Amma had come running. My brother tried to explain, but his voice was trembling, and fear was evident on Emma's face too. I said. What happened? Why are you screaming like that? You've scared the child. My brother swore and said I was getting up for prayer. As I passed by your room, I saw our little sister standing in front of the mirror. At first, I didn't notice, but then I realized her reflection wasn't in the mirror. I turned back to look. She had a shadow, so I thought it was a trick of the eye. As I was turning away again, I saw two girls in the mirror. He paused for a moment. We only have one little sister, so the other one looked her age, but her face was different. I was silent for a while, feeling a cold chill inside. Still, I said, don't say such things in front of her. Amma said sternly, I don't want to hear such talk again. Look how scared the poor thing is. We calmed everyone down, gave them water, and decided to suppress the matter for the time being. I thought to myself, it could be tricks of light and shadow or an optical illusion in a new house. 1 or 2 days after this, around DSO 11 at night, a storm started outside. Oma had gone to the veranda to bring in the clothes. Suddenly, she called out to us, Nadia, come quickly, call your brother. I ran out and saw Amma shaking, her eyes wide, her lips dry. We asked what happened. Uma was silently staring towards the lawn. We almost had to drag her inside. What we heard next sent shivers down our spines. Uma said, I saw a burned girl standing on the lawn. Not just her face, her entire body was charred. A smell of burning was coming from her side. We all inhaled sharply and realized we could smell it too. That burnt smell that hit us when we were outside helping Uma. My brother immediately said, I told you. I saw a girl in the mirror. You didn't believe me. We hung our heads and understood there was something in this house. But where could we go? We had no money, and we had a lot of belongings. Moving out overnight onto the street wasn't possible. The next day, Emma invited some women from the neighborhood, and we held a Quran Kani recitation at home. We thought this would bring peace, but that was perhaps our biggest mistake. There had been 2 isolated incidents, and maybe they would have remained that way. But after the Quran Kani, it felt like we had angered someone. After that, something happened every single day. The day after the Quran Kani, in the evening, my brother came inside and said sharply, Why hasn't the outside garbage been cleaned? We said, The cleaning lady came. She's cleaning. He said, Then why are those corpses still lying outside? We asked, What corpses? He took me by the hand outside. I saw a dead pigeon chick near the mirror, 2 dead crows on the other side, some in the laundry area, some on the lawn wherever you turned. A dead body was in sight. Darkness was falling. Lights were on in the surrounding houses, and in our broken-down courtyard lay dead animals. This scene was so terrifying, it made my heart heavy. We said, In the morning, the helper will come and remove everything. We locked the door and went inside. All night, we heard the cries of cats and sounds of scratching from behind the windows. It was December or January, cold, the air heavy, the fan off in the silence. Every small sound seemed amplified. Sometimes it sounded like someone was breaking marbles with a hammer outside. Sometimes a knocking sound of stones hitting the walls. Other times a dragging, grating sound. One evening, my little sister was playing on the veranda. She suddenly came inside, broke down crying, and said, Mama, they hit me. Uma asked, Who hit you? Did a friend come over? The little one kept pointing outside, saying, Them. We went outside. No one was there. Yet, her cheek was red, as if someone had really slapped her hard. We consoled her with toys. Both Amma and I were silent. One night, around midnight or 1 o'clock, we were almost asleep. My brother was probably still awake, as he sleeps late. Suddenly, we heard the sound of a newborn baby crying. Sometimes it was very close, right by the window end. Then moments later, far away. Once, it felt like it was crying right next to my ear, and then it vanished. I jolted upright. I came out of my room to find my brother standing there, and Amma and Abu had also come out. We all started reciting Durud Sharif, and Abu gave the azan, called a prayer. The moment the azan ended, the crying stopped. We decided that as soon as morning came, we had to ask someone what was happening in this house. At dawn, Abu went to the nearby mosque and told the imam everything. The imam was silent for a while, and then asked, "Did you rent Mr. Rafan's house?" Abu said, "Yes, that's the one." The imam was silent again, then said, "That house is quite dilapidated. It's been closed for a long time." Abu said, "You're absolutely right." The imam said, "I need 3 days. I will perform a istikhara prayer for guidance, and then tell you what to do." Those 3 days felt like 3 months. The days passed in terror, and sleep only came through prayers. On the first evening, Amma was cooking rice in the kitchen. We were nearby. Suddenly, somehow, the entire pot lifted and almost fell on Emma's feet. It missed by just a few inches. Uma stumbled back and sat down. I quickly gave her water. We all stood there, dumbfounded. On the second afternoon, I was playing with my little sister. My brother and I saw it with our own eyes. A black cat came and sat right in front of us. Its gaze was sharp, unfamiliar, as if it was trying to speak. We both froze. The cat slowly went to a tree in the courtyard and then suddenly vanished into thin eyrie. Wouldn't believe it if you saw it. My little sister, scared, climbed into my lap and asked, "Appa, where did the cat go?" I quickly closed the door. I felt that none of this was normal. We were still waiting for the imam's guidance. 2 days to go. On the second night, another mishap. Abu had fallen in the bathroom. Later, Abu himself said, "I felt like someone pushed me. By Allah's mercy, nothing serious happened." But Abu was scared, worried about his children, his wife, and himself. My sister was still very young. I wasn't much older than 6. Amma decided my sister would sleep with her. From that day, I also stayed in Amma's room. Only my brother stayed in his own room, but not for long. That very night, something happened to him too, forcing him to move to our parents' room. In his words, he was watching TV when his gaze fell on the window. A boy was standing outside, about our little sister's age, both hands on the window, staring inside. It was winter, around Unoam. The street light was on, so the boy was clearly visible. My brother curled up in fear, wondering, am I awake or am I dreaming? Then, suddenly, fear gripped him so intensely that he screamed and ran out of the room. From that day on, he never entered his room again. The third day was Friday. Abu said, after Isha prayer, "I'll go to the Imam Sahib and see what he says." That night, while Abu was praying, the swing in our courtyard suddenly started swinging violently as if an invisible hand was pulling it. Believe me, if we had had a camera phone then, I would have recorded it. The height and force of the swing are hard to describe. We were all staring, stunned. Before Uma lost her composure, she had us lock the door and gather in one room. We all recited prayers and waited for Abu's return. A little later, the doorbell rang. We were terrified to go out, but we had to. We all went and opened the door by Allah's grace. The swing had stopped by then. My brother brought Abu inside. Abu sat down and said, "I spoke with the Imam Sahib." What he told me shocked me too. Abu learned that someone, out of enmity, had performed magic on the previous tenants. The ingredients used for that magic were left somewhere in that house. Some of these things were supposedly hidden within the house itself. That's probably why the previous tenants fled overnight, and since the source of the magic was inside the house, any new family moving in would be affected by it. The Imam Sahib warned, if you don't leave quickly, the effects will accelerate. There's even a risk to someone's life. We looked at each other, fear, astonishment, exhaustion. We sat there like fools. Then, a decision seemed to be made unanimously. No more waiting, no more delay. As soon as morning came, we headed for my aunt's house. We took whatever we could carry, planning to get the rest later. We left as soon as the dawn broke. We stayed at my aunt's place, and our minds settled a bit. We decided to stay there until we found another rental. Later, we found another place and moved. Since then, we never looked back towards that house. The lesson from this entire experience is that black magic isn't always directed at you personally. The house you move into might be contaminated by magic aimed at previous tenants, done by someone with enmity towards them. The new family moving in is not immune to its effects. Often, When we rent a new place, we check the rent, location, and condition of the walls. But we don't inquire about the house's history. Why did the previous tenants leave? How long did they stay? Is there any record of unusual events? I think it's wise to ask the neighbors a few questions before moving into a used house. Even if no one wants to speak directly, you can understand a lot from hints. Before moving in, one can recite the first few verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, the last 2 verses Surah Al-Falaq, and Surah An-Nas, and Makdua. Our intention with the Quran Kani was good, but I later realized it's crucial to understand the situation first before such actions. Anyway, by Allah's mercy, we got out before any major harm occurred. Even now, when I write about these events, my body shivers remembering. The feeling in the bathroom, the 2 girls in the mirror, the burnt girl standing on the lawn, the smell of burnt bones, the dead pigeon chicks, and 2 crows. Scattered in the courtyard, the intense cries of cats in the dark. The sound of stones hitting the walls, the constant dragging sound, my little sister saying they hit me. The baby's cry stopping with the azan, the boy with his hands on the window, and the frenzied swinging of the swing-it. All feels alive in my memory. We didn't cause any of this. I share this story hoping that if any of you rent a used house, you will make some inquiries first. Finally, what I am Nadia. I am not a scholar, nor do I know any spiritual healing. I am just an ordinary girl who was a matric student when this happened. With this, she ended her story. I hope you found this story interesting. If you liked it, please do let us know. Take care. Stay well. Aja. Hafiz.